Hey everyone, welcome to the project of this section. So in this one, we're going to actually do something very interesting, and we're going to actually learn a few interesting things as well along the way. So in this project, we're going to actually create a painting, and the painting that specifically we're creating is a Damien Hirst painting. So this is actually a very interesting concept. If you take a look at it, you can Google it on I'm just Googling Hirst painting, and if you take a look, this painting, specifically the most famous one at least, is just a painting of dots. And it's a pretty interesting, again, concept. The idea behind it is that it's just like these simple things that are actually quite interesting and valuable, and these paintings actually sell for very, very expensive prices. This is actually nothing. I've seen one that went for, I think, $500,000 or something like that. So these are very, very interesting, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually create our own Damien Hirst painting. And it's a pretty fun project, because what's going to allow us to do is to allow us to use a few packages in Python, and do some fun stuff. And one of the things that I'm very excited to do as well is to work with files. So we're going to use a few packages. One's going to for us to create the painting, we're going to use the Turtle graphics package, right? Something that we worked a lot in the past, and we're going to work with again in this module. Another package that I'm going to work with is Colorgram. And the reason actually we want to use Colorgram is this, because my objective is that we want to actually grab a file, okay, from the Google Images, and we want to import this file inside our project and have our program extract the picture, or extract the colors within the picture, right? And then we're going to actually go ahead and create that painting. So how cool is that? So we're going to get to work with files. We're going to extract the colors, these colors, from the painting, and we're going to actually create the painting ourselves. It's really, really awesome. Again, it's a very, very good practice for you to become more familiar with like more complicated Python concepts and all that stuff, and also again working with files. So again, we're going to use Colorgram Pi, which is a very great and light code to help us take color out of a picture. And again, you can generate a lot of colors, and what's really interesting about this is that it actually puts out the colors as tuples. And again, guess what? We're familiar with tuples, right? So we can actually put out these colors as a tuple, as shown here, as you see, and we can actually put out these, and again, it goes RGB as well, so we can actually use this. Again, it's exactly what we want. It's RBG color, and we're going to be using it in our project. So with that being said, let's go ahead and actually start building this. So the first thing I want to do is that I want to create the project in the PyCharm. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go open the PyCharm. I'm just going to create a new project. I'm just going to call it Hirst. All right, and yeah, so again, make sure you just create a welcome Py file, and we're good to go. So we just have a brand new project. I'm just going to clean this up. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take this picture. All right, so I'm just gonna screenshot this picture real quick, and we're going to put it inside our project. So I'm just gonna take a screenshot real quick, and just like that, and let's just go ahead and wait for this to show up in my desktop. There you go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to, and let's just rename it to image to make it easier to work with. There you go. So I'm going to go back to the PyCharm real quick, and I'm going to drag this into my project. Again, in order for you to actually work with the image, it's better if you just have it inside your project file. So I'm just going to drag it right here, or actually drag it in a folder, my bad. And when we do this, we're going to get this message. It says, do you want to refactor this? And I say, yes, I want to refactor this. And there you go. So we got our image right here. So now we can actually start using this. All right. How cool is that? All right. So next step is we want to actually import the package. Again, the package we're using here is Colorgram, sorry. And this is not included in Python by default. So we want to import it. All right. So again, remember, in order to import a package, you need to go to Python packages, and again, right here, just click on it. Let's just look for Colorgram. I apologize for my horrible spelling. There you go. So we're just going to install that real quick, and there you go. So just like that, we installed the package and we're good to go. So we are actually ready to start coding this thing. All right. So so now let's actually well, we're pretty much done. All right, so let's go ahead and actually import it. So I'm just going to say import Colorgram. There you go. So we have Colorgram ready to go. So guys, now we can actually start coding. So let's actually go back to Colorgram's documentation here. And there you go. So you see, it's very simple. And all you got to do is just like, you know, call the Colorgram, also called the extract, right? This is the module inside, and your image name and how many colors you want. So again, it's pretty much explained here, right? Your image file and number of colors. So just like that. So I'm just going to copy it to make my life easy. All right. So I'm just going to drop that right here. But obviously we want to refer to the correct file name. So I'm just going to obviously again refer to image.png. So I'm just going to say image.png. And for this, we're going to just grab 30 colors. All right. Now, one of the things I want you to remember is that because we're working with files and you're getting into more graphical things, it's going to be a little more process intensive. So it's going to take some time, all right, to like get something out. So for example, if I print colors right now, it's going to take probably a second or two, or maybe more, for us to get anything. See guys, so it took like a second or two for us to really get anything. And see, we got the colors. So just like that, we're extracting 30 colors out of this thing. Now here's a problem, you know, take a look at what we're getting here. We're getting a lot of useless information. So what we want is the RGB colors, right? And we're getting the RGB colors, but a couple of problems. It's just, first of all, in like a list that has some weird stuff in it. We got the RGB like letters here, and then we got R equals, G equals, B equals, and there's just like this thing that shows, again, I think the percentage of the existence in the, like, you know, how much of this color actually exists in the picture. But yeah, like, you know, these are information that we don't need, right? This is the information that we don't need, and I don't want it. So we need to clean this up. That's what I'm trying to say. We need to clean this up. All right. So also another thing that we need this to be in a list, and this list needs to have tuples and nothing else. So again, we need it to be like this. If you want to imagine it, we want it to be, for example, like, let me just comment this out so we don't mess up our code. So we want it to be like, you know, a tuple inside a list. For example, it says 255, 255, again 255. So that's like the RGB color inside a tuple, and then it's going to be inside a list, right? So and again, we want 30 of these, obviously, but again, it's just like, that's how we want it, right? And this is definitely not how we want it right now if you again compare these two. So let's go ahead and actually make it happen. So the way we do this is that the best way to, or easiest way really to go about this, is to create a for loop, okay? And have for loop to just go through this and extract these colors. So first thing I want to do is I want to actually create an empty list that we're going to put all these tuples inside. All right. So I'm just going to say RGB colors equals, and then we're going to put an empty list here. All right. So after doing this, what we need to, let's actually just get rid of this side. So it's just going to be easier for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a for loop. I'm just going to say for color. Again, we're referring to this in colors. So again, we're referring to this. Okay. Keep that in mind. We're looping through all the results that we're going to get from here. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract each individual color. So I'm just going to say R equals color. And this is again a RGB. It is a module inside the Colorgram. All right. So we're going to repeat the same thing for G and B as well. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to say G and B. And if you're confused what this is, allow me to explain it. So what we're doing is that we're saying a for loop, and this for loop is just going to go through the colors, this variable, right? And anything that's going to come out of this. And using this, module inside the cologram, it's going to just grab the R number, G number, and B number. So the raw number, that's all we want. So this is what basically is going to do. And again, if you look at the, if you look at the thing itself, you're going to see that it's actually explaining how you can do this. So again, the documentation is something you definitely want to check out and learn. All right. But anyways, so that's basically what it is. Now we have this. All right, let's actually go ahead and actually create the rest of it. So next step is I'm going to actually go ahead and say, I'm going to make a color, or let's make a tuple. All right. So I'm just going to say color tuple and equals, we're going to say RGB. So basically what we did is that we just got these values, received them from this results, right? And then put them inside a tuple. And again, each time this for loop is going to run, we're going to create a new tuple. And now we want to actually put these tuples inside the list, right? So I'm just going to say RGB colors. Again, this is our list. And we're going to append, right? We're going to appending, and then we're going to append the color tuple to it. So now we actually have a tuple. Take a look. Let's actually print this real quick. Print and RGB colors. There you go. So if I actually print this right now, see what's going to happen. We're going to get, well, we gotta wait a second, but then there you go. We get all these nice tuples, right, inside this list. How cool is that? So now our problem, which we were like dealing with messy data, is solved. How cool is that? Now there's a problem here, okay? There is a problem, and I want to solve that problem. So if you actually take a look at these colors, and I want you to just kind of think about this, and this is like, as we work with more RGB colors, you're gonna start understanding this. But if you take a look, let's go back to the color picker here, and I want to, for example, put 240 and 240 for red, 240 for green, and 240 for blue. Let's say, yeah, 240. So one of the things that you're gonna see here is that the higher these numbers are, these RGB numbers are, the closer the color becomes to white. All right, and this makes sense because if you actually take a look at our image, what do we have is that we have obviously white background, right? And then we also have like a bunch of lighter colors, right? So we got this like, kind of a grayish color. We got kind of a very pale, yellowish lime color. So like we got all these like lighter colors. Now the problem is that we don't want to have these. We don't want to, also we don't want to have the full white background color in our painting, right? So what we need to do is we need to take these values out. Now, there are a few ways to do this. But the way I kind of have come across, and the way like based on my own testing, is that the best way is actually do an if statement and just take anything out that is going to be close to white. So how do we actually do this? How do we actually figure out what is white or what is not white, right? So if you think about it again, these numbers actually make they're very important. So if anything, if you think about it, let's just make this, for example, to 10, all right? So now suddenly this is not white, right? And what I'm thinking is that we can create an if statement where if anything, the total of these numbers are, let's say 200, 600, if the total of these numbers are over 640, for example, right? That means that it's white, so we shouldn't include it. So this is what I mean. So again, I hope this makes sense. Like if the total of these numbers, for example, let's actually take a look at this. This is 248, 248, 247. So if you actually take a look, 248, 48, 240, 247, and 248. So this is basically what, it's kind of a grayish white, right? We don't want to include this. Right, this just doesn't make sense because it's not going to look very good on like a white background when we actually draw the circles, the dots, right? So I just want to have a system that takes out anything that is too bright. And what I'm thinking is that we can use an if statement, okay, and achieve this. So I'm just going to say if R plus G plus B is bigger than, let's say, 650, all right, we're going to say continue. That means continue. By continue, we mean that like add the color to the tuple, right? Else pass. So basically what is going to happen is that if this happens, if this, like the value is too white, we're going to pass it and it's just going to go back again. If not, we're going to actually, if the value is not too bright, it's going to be added to the tuple. So just like that, we're going to actually be able to take this these values that are too bright out of the equation. Let me actually try this, and let's run it one more time. There you go. See, guys? So now we're actually ending up with values that are not white. So now when we actually put them on a white background, they make perfect sense, right? So there you go. So just like that, we have our, RGB colors. So in the next step, in the next lesson, we're going to actually create the program that is going to draw these circles and all that stuff. So thank you so much, guys. I hope this made sense. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'll see you in the next lesson.